You're actually my first guest on this series, so I have no clue how am I even supposed to do this, but let's try it. I don't know.
It's all right. You don't need to. Don't put pressure. It's all good. We're here to have a chat in the end.
Let's start with a little intro. This is Simona from ETHCluj. ETHCluj is a Ethereum conference happening literally next week from us recording it.
Yeah. It starts on the 20th, ends on the 20th.
So from 26th to 28th of June, 2025, and we're hoping for many more in the upcoming years. And I'm Lazar. Thank you for finding the time to chat with me about this, to share your insights and your experience of how it even is being in the background of organizing these things, getting your hands dirty, because I'm sure that this is not easy. I hope you're gonna tell us everything, all of the nitty gritty, the hard things, the challenges, everything. Let me first kick things off with asking about the background or how this even happened. Can you walk us through, like, what was that one experience that really pulled you into the orbit of Ethereum or Web3? How did your journey even start?
It's actually a good question. I sometimes ask myself the same question. There's no one single moment that is, let's say, holding all the responsibility for us starting this ETHCluj association and movement as well locally, but I really think we're contributing globally as well. It's actually started with my colleagues. They are 6 developers. So they decided to put all of their research that they were doing for their projects, put it together in presentations, and try to pitch this presentation to a larger audience. At that point, I wasn't yet aware of what they were building, but I kind of met them at one of my previous jobs, actually the first job that I took into crypto by hazard, just because I had a friend who was working in this industry and invited me over for an interview since I was coming from marketing background and recently jobless. So yeah, that's where I met my team in the end, and they had this presentation regarding the merge. Huge thing, I was, okay, what is the merge? Everybody was like, oh yeah, the merge. And me, imposter syndrome over there. I was quite straightforward from the start. I mean, I knew nothing about blockchain, cryptocurrency. So I decided that I'm going to attend this presentation, ask some questions. I think it's all right, to be a beginner, and it's all right not to know stuff. It's important to ask questions and not be afraid of doing that. And if it would come down to something like what started it, it's probably curiosity for me. And the fact that I've seen my colleagues do this, selfless presentations, giving their time and energy to others just because they thought it was the right thing to do. That's what caught me to join them in the end, because I thought I could bring more value and have them reach a bit of a wider audience and maybe grow community together, right?
I think it's very admirable that you leaned into it, even though, as you said, like, oh, I didn't have any clue. What is the merge? What are we merging? What are these people talking about? And it's kind of like a testament to show that, like, our industry or our space, it can be very open, especially with the right people. But it's also a testament to your mental strength to really dive in, even with an imposter syndrome, which is very common. We all have that. And you're like someone that's barely had any crossings with our industry is, like you're now leading a regional hub for the Ethereum network. I think that's very, very admirable, and people, they should use this as an example of, like, hey, I can contribute in some way to this space as well. Like, I don't have to be Vitalik's best friend to do it. I can be who I am.
In terms of leading, I think I'm just probably here just to channel, everybody into finding the right spot for them in the ecosystem. Don't per se want to lead. I'd rather want to help. Just to say that just because I am right now probably more like facing communication and being in front and out there, doesn't mean that next year, next month, or whatever, somebody else cannot take this spot. And actually, I do encourage everybody in the community to have the courage and step, into the light, if I call it, take a bit of ownership, because in the end, we're all building together.
Yeah, it's good to encourage people, especially newcomers. If they want to contribute, they don't know how, or they're scared. As someone that's going around talking to people all the time, building this community day in, day out, there's a lot of layers of complexity about what our industry even is, especially to the broader public. It's only known for crypto as a investment tool. What's one misconception that you find yourself constantly having to kind of like correct people?
I'll talk about two of them because it's obviously first and foremost, it's the obvious thing that everybody's facing. You work in blockchain, that means that you work in crypto, that means that it's all about tokens and speculations. And it's not the case at all. This is probably something that people will probably naturally go towards because they don't know enough about the space. But I think the real problem here is that people are afraid to actually take the chance and get to know stuff. Talking a lot, like a lot of people, talking a lot with people who are in the Web2 industry, right? Working in corporations or having their own startups or so forth. When you mention the word blockchain, regardless of the background, and regardless whether you say it's not like speculations and tokens and so on, people will have a natural, I don't want to call it fear, but they refrain on going into the subject of blockchain because to them, it's something so complicated and so complex, and it is up to a certain extent. Like inviting friends, hey, have a look, we have this conference. It's literally Ethereum for everyone. We really want to, get everybody familiarized with a little bit, like a little glimpse, or just experience what an Ethereum conference is about, right? Because it's not at all about, people with ties and shirts and, very formal environment. It's actually we're trying to build a fun experience for everyone. Right? So when I mention, it's blockchain conference, okay, no, I don't know anything about it. Yeah, that's the main challenge. That's, I would say, the most important challenge that we have is to put the word out there, educate people. I don't know, don't be perceived as kind of like elite group, right? Just, let people get to know you and get to know what blockchain is about and be a bit, more open to the wider audience. I see this a lot that people, us that were already in blockchain and a bit familiar, maybe sometimes we don't do a good enough job at reaching the wider audience. There is room for improvement. And there would always will be.
For sure, yeah. We as people that work in blockchain, we often forget that people outside of it have a specific perception of what it is. And all of those perceptions, they come with different feelings. Sometimes that's not a good feeling. So when we come to someone optimistic about blockchain, they might perceive us in a negative light or be like, ooh, I'm not sure if I want to associate myself with you. So going forward, how do we do it? Do we educate people more on blockchain itself, or do we find a different way to word these concepts to people?
I think it's probably gonna take to it's important that we ask ourselves the question, and everything we do and build is with this in mind. And I think that's naturally going to go on the right direction. Because in the end, there's not going to be one single thing that will tip the balance. It's going to be constantly, showing up, being there, consistency, and so forth, So yeah, and, speaking the language of, everybody else that they're able to understand you, right? Make it a bit more, digestible for the wider audience.
And you did say Ethereum for everyone. The tagline for ETHCluj is Ethereum for everyone. What is kind of like from your perspective? What will be the biggest hurdle right now that prevents Ethereum from really being for everyone? Would it be exactly like what we talked about, like finding how to digestibly present these things to people, how to approach them, or to meet them halfway and not just wait for people to come to us?
I think Ethereum is already for everyone. It's just a question of us having everybody else understand that, right? So, and this is not, call it marketing or whatever you want, but education up to a certain point is marketing as well. It's the quality marketing, right? Not the shallow type. So I think our job, at least speaking for ETHCluj for sure, in the immediate and long run as well, will be to create an environment where people can come ask questions, come be curious, see if they find, hey, I want to contribute to this. Or, for example, we have a lot of designers and artists in Cluj as well, right? We have an important university in arts. I'd like to, from artists, from people who work literally in all sectors, to feel comfortable to come to us and say, listen, I can do this. How can we integrate that into what you're doing? Because that's already, working together towards a goal, right? And this is a way of making people, creating a more inclusive environment, if I can call it like that.
Absolutely.
A more inclusive, there's not more and less inclusive. It is inclusive for sure, but we need to communicate around this and actually make people feel comfortable, not making them feel like, oh, it's just, here a bunch of people that know what they're talking about and they're so experts on their piece of subject, right, that nobody can touch them. We need to, take people from, up on the pedestal and put it, put them together with us and have everybody understand that we need to be able to communicate between each other freely and stop creating ranks and hierarchies and so on. But rather, if you can get to know the person, get to know the environment, find your place, right? Because everybody will naturally and organically, find their spot.
Yeah, I love the vision that you have for ETHCluj. Let's dive into the logistic of organizing ETHCluj, especially in this like very crazy evolving space, very fast space. It probably feels sometimes like you're herding digital cats and there's a lot of moving pieces. What was kind of like that one moment recently, maybe today, maybe this week, when you were like, oh my God, what have we gotten ourselves into? Do I even have the mental capacity to do this? Can I do this? Can we do this?
So to answer your question briefly, these moments are all throughout the journey. And if anything, I've learned from previous experiences that any challenge is a marathon, if you're doing it right. And along the way, you are going to doubt yourself for sure. I mean, we're all humans, right? And it's normal. We're actually, and it's the fact that you overcome these challenges and overcome your doubts that is making the beauty of building something nice, right? Something worth doing. I know it's a cliche, but obviously nothing good comes easy, right? There's no like shortcuts and so on. So if you're doing it right, kind of like, sufferance comes along the way, but in the end you learn to embrace it. So there is pressure, right? But then there's also acceptance and there's also how you deal with that pressure and how maybe makes you a better person or better at what you do. And you come out in a win, like on a personal journey as well. It's not just creating, because this is one event, right? In this case, it's the flagship event for ETHCluj, right? We do several along the year as well. And let me tell you, in the beginning, those were challenging as well. Anything is challenging the first time you do it, and maybe the second and fifth and so on. But then you get good at it as well. And maybe some other people see that it's exciting to do this and join as well. So that's kind of like a hidden perk if you want. So yeah, I really do believe, okay, now it's probably a bit more challenging since it's the first time. But what we're hoping to do is inspire other people as well to join in, help out, and take ownership. Why not? ETHCluj is not ours, it's everybody's.
Yeah, that's a really sweet answer. So we have a bunch of stressful moments throughout the entire process. On the flip side, do you maybe have that one moment where you were like, wow, this is exactly why I'm doing this? A moment of beauty or of thankfulness. Maybe it was a friend, a family member, a colleague.
Very personal. So what I want to say is actually that for me, okay, I can't per se pin to one specific moment, but as you probably know by now, since let's say a month, I've been around, at conferences, like ETH Dublin, ETH Prague afterwards, ETH Belgrade, and just now Protocolberg, right? So I've met so many cool people. And when I say cool, I mean super knowledgeable, very kind, deeply rooted in values, like strong values, That's the kind of people that you want to be around, for sure. Like, at least me. That's the kind of people that I want to be around and the kind of people that lift up your spirit and enrich you by their knowledge. So when I see people like this supporting us or coming and saying, hey, you're doing a cool job, nice, super nice. But beyond that, beyond, like the general approval, maybe, if I can call it like this, I think, for example, the real rewards, it's in small moments, when somebody that wasn't at all familiar with. And I find myself a lot of the times, and I think this is valid for my colleagues as well, that you shock people in a very good way, saying, yeah, I'm doing this because I really believe in building something, strong, good, organic, and, I've been through some pretty important challenges in my life. And I learned that if you want to change something, you need to, get your hands dirty, if I can call it like that. Do something, in your own little square, move a little bit, and start doing stuff. So I'm very proud that I can actually see a little bit of effects of what I'm doing in my own little square here. It's starting to reverberate in the exterior as well, and that's absolutely the most fulfilling experience for me.
I like it. So it's kind of like at the end of the day, it's really about like the people that inspire us and empower us and motivate us around us to do better and to be better people as well.
And the motivation to do something good, do something nice, make it count as well.
And do you maybe have like an unsung hero or a community member of ETHCluj that is kind of like behind the scenes? Maybe they're not even aware, but you're like, I'm keeping my eye on you. I know that you're doing good. I know that you're contributing, and I'm very thankful for that. Like, do you have those moments where you're kind of like, oh yeah, like I see these people?
Yeah, sure. Actually, yeah, I have plenty of that, but honestly, probably the most important person in ETHCluj is my colleague Alex, who doesn't take
Alex.
credit.
Should we shout out Alex?
He's actually the person who started, this movement, and probably one of the most strong valued people that I know. So yeah, definitely. Now when he's gonna see this, he's gonna blush. But yeah, I really enjoy. Maybe I don't say this enough, but I really enjoy working alongside people like Alex because it's always like a good compass to have, and putting a lot of energy as well and time. So yeah, I really appreciate. And besides all of what Alex is doing, we have a lot of volunteers that came towards us. Some of them absolutely not in Web3. I find joy to see sometimes, like how they get curious about, oh, but what is this? How do you do that? And I think that's really important for them as an experience to have a look and see how we build this from ground up. I think that's quite a model to take in terms of like literally onboarding people. Sometimes people don't get onboarded through teaching them how to code or anything technical. Sometimes people get onboarded because they participate and have the experience of it or get involved. And that's it. That's the most important step, to get involved.
Oh yeah, yeah. You mentioned volunteers. At DevCon and DevConnect, we always have like hundreds of volunteers, and they're so important. And at the same time, most of them are actually not even in crypto Web3 at all. They're just complete newbies, complete beginners, new faces. And for them, that's like their first big experience. And it's a huge responsibility for us as organizers to make sure that they get a good experience, because that might be the cornerstone of, are they going to continue pursuing anything in our space, or are they just going to be like, no, this is not for me, this is too hard, they told me to sprint around for 16 hours a day, I'm never coming back here. So it's also like a huge responsibility for us as organizers to make sure that we really deliver a good experience, not for attendees, but also for like volunteers and staff and everyone involved. Really, we are direct representatives of Ethereum, of blockchain, of Web3, of our entire industry, and what we do and how we act and the values that we preach. You said earlier, like, this is like my personal values and all of that, but those, even though you're a small ant in the army of ants, you're still like a meaningful molecule of this system. And you said like you have your own small little square. That square still influences the squares around you and connects with everyone around you. So even as like small individuals, we have the power to influence a broader system.
I think my personal feeling is, if you want to change the world, big words, start by doing stuff yourself. Then eventually maybe people around you will, some of them won't notice, some of them will, some of them will be shocked by doing this, and some of them after a while or immediately will start to, either imitate or follow. And that's how you shift, mentality, start a little moment of change. It's the little things that count, for sure.
I see more of this shift to the humanness in our space, like away from this very cold technological approach of our space into a more relatable, more human side.
For sure. I think for us it's a good mix because my co-founders are all technical people and they're very much deep into the technology, but also there's a good mix of us, like some of us are more, I'm a people person, I'll be super honest, even though it's important to take care of the human layer, the social layer. Actually, on this note, I've heard part of a presentation of Polar at Protocol Berg. Sorry, I've missed all of it, but yeah, that really went hit a spot with me. So yeah, the social layer, which is quite important, right? And then there's keeping a good balance with everything else, which is the technical aspects. And it's not the only one. Sure. We need to have a holistic view, right, of what's going on. And tipping the boat too much in one side or the other obviously leads to unbalance. I'm really happy to see that the attention towards the social layer is gaining more ground, because that's my slice of the pie, so I really enjoy it. And yeah, I do believe that probably the next very important steps, and especially for onboarding, besides like everything technical and UX and so on, and DevX, I think it's actually getting to really connect with people on a human side. That can literally move mountains, in my opinion.
What ETHCluj is going to offer people this year in terms of networking, programming, structure, agenda for ETHCluj this year?
We're gonna publish it in a couple of days once it's ironed out. What I can say is that it will be quite diverse, so there will be a little bit for everybody, including like on the workshop side of things, accessible to all levels. I mean, we're trying to onboard as many people into getting familiar with actual, like dev knowledge and so forth. What we want and what we're working to create, it's also like a wholesome and friendly environment, like within the conference venue as well. Yeah, we want people to feel comfortable to stick around, have conversations, and yeah, we have good coffee, by the way. So anybody who's a fan of coffee, we got this. We got this.
No sleeping during ETHCluj.
No.
3 days of
Probably
non-stop.
not.
The venue that ETHCluj is happening at, can you tell us more about the venue?
So for the venue, we partnered up with the Technical University of Cluj, and we're actually hosted in one of their most recent research centers, right? So yeah, it's pretty much of a super awesome venue. And fun fact that actually is not yet published, maybe we'll
Exclusive information?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Public information which we didn't surface, which I didn't surface yet, but I'm laying it out here, so that I don't miss it. This building used to be actually the fashion house of, like the county back in the days, right? And for a long period of time. So there's over the internet like videos with all sorts, like fashion presentations in the east and so on, like super cool. I like that vibe. And just goes to say even more, how things can overlap sometimes, So it's a research center for one of the most prestigious universities in the country previously, House of Fashion in Cluj. So food for thought, right? We've actually started quite small and had the super pleasant surprise to have a lot of people coming up with side events. So we have just recently, we've actually established like a partnership with ETHCluj for a side event for the first day, like in the afternoon, like ETHCluj and ETHCluj happy hour. So that's going to be announced today. Apologies, I didn't make it to announce it sooner. It's on me. And following up, it will be like all sorts of like legal side events, business partner side events, even including, crypto workouts from Wirex. We have, what else? Obviously, the closing partner. We have actually one of the startups that presented, it's called Liquify, that presented in our think tank sessions about twice, I think. They are now hosting a startup side event as well, so we're really proud of them. People that we collaborated with. So yeah, it's going to be quite a wholesome experience. And the closing party, it's going to be at the lounge for Cluj Arena, which is the local stadium, the newest. So it's going to be cool, I think. So yeah, going to have like the view on the stadium. So yeah, hopefully people will stick around and enjoy it. It's going to be on the 28th. In the evening. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff.
So closing party is something not to be missed.
We have pretty good parties in Cluj. I don't want to emphasize on the party side of things and go more on a community, but we do have quite cool parties in Cluj.
You mentioned like startup side events. I'm curious, in Cluj or in your country in general, like how is the startup environment? Are young people being encouraged to, dive into entrepreneurship more. Do you see our industry and our space contributing to empowering young individuals when it comes to their entrepreneurial journeys, building their businesses? Since you're partnering with a university, there's definitely going to be a lot of students, local alumni, that's going to visit you guys. And I guess that's also like a very big responsibility, you know, leaving a good impression for the student sector and the professors and everyone that's going to show up.
We have partnerships with two of the main universities in the country, and both of them in Cluj. We're expecting quite a hefty number of students that applied. A lot of students applied for a free ticket. We have like a free ticket application on our website, so we're really happy about that. We're hoping to get them familiar. I mean, there is curiosity and for sure a lot of knowledge around blockchain ecosystem, just probably not yet really sedimented. So we're trying to create the environment for students specifically to get as much of the information that they need, but make sure that we eventually try to support them in terms of sharing more knowledge or putting out there like the right content and setting up the right meetups, creating workshops as well for them. We are planning summer academia, so kind of like a summer school, right? Which is gonna happen, I think, 22nd of July to the 1st of August. And yeah, we're actually planning out stuff for them, so we're doing follow up on the conference event as well. Yeah, that's gonna be quite important. As in terms of startups, yeah, the local environment is quite thriving in terms of startups, and young people are quite encouraged towards this direction. I think blockchain specifically is not yet as present as I'd like it to be, but we're here to change that. We're hoping that we get more people, you know, like actually having the courage to, you know, start something. Ethereum blockchain, right? Let's see how this follows through after the conference as well. But it's important that people, you know, start to be aware that we are here and we're here to support.
You've partnered with the university, so you have this access to fresh, bright minds that are just about to go into the labor force, and they're probably thinking like, oh, what am I supposed to do in my life? Should I finish this degree, or should I disappoint my family by leaving university early like I have? Like, where is my life supposed to take me? Which industry am I supposed to dive into? And I think that, you know, blockchain can be a viable option for a lot of younger entrepreneurs, and not as its own like standalone thing, like, hey, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur in blockchain. I think of blockchain as part of the tech space, and that people can utilize our infrastructure and the technology that we're building for even like general purpose apps and products and services. I guess like on an entrepreneurial level, in my opinion, there's this misconception that if you're a blockchain entrepreneur, you need to only deal with blockchain. But realistically, I feel like we could create way more opportunities, jobs, and entrepreneurial endeavors if we encourage people to dive into blockchain by just like utilizing it for any kind of product or service that they might build, or any kind of startup or anything. Any I don't know, you want to do a gym app or something, like it doesn't necessarily have to be on the blockchain, of course, but it could utilize some features that we have as an industry: end user data protection, privacy, end user data ownership. So I'm really hoping that blockchain is going to be more of a general purpose layer for people to build their own products and like startups and products and services, instead of being its own little isolated island. And you're either gonna come to our island and build on blockchain, like build another Uniswap clone or something financial, or you're gonna be part of the tech scene and build your own, I don't know, like a SaaS company or something.
Yeah. You know, first of all, like there's a lot of people with a lot of like super cool ideas, and I think they're just, you know, afraid to go for it and start building and implementing, right? I think with guidance, mentorship, and support in terms of, you know, knowledge, I think we can get there for sure.
And I guess this event is like one of those opportunities where people can actually get their foot in, their start in an environment where it's inclusive. You're not going to be an outlier here, because everyone's an outlier here. Like, no one knows what we're doing. We're all figuring things out. So I guess that's why people should stop by this event and connect. And I'm sure for a lot of them, it's going to be their first time.
I think it's also important to keep in mind that just to say that even knowledgeable people always have stuff to learn. So we're all learning and we're learning together, you know. There's never going to be a moment where you're going to say, oh, super fine, stop learning now, cool, you know. Everybody has an imposter syndrome to a certain extent, right? But it's important to understand that it's fine, that's totally fine to not know stuff. Just ask questions and find the right people. And we're here to bring the right people together so that, you know, you can ask the questions and get the answers, right? So yeah.
So do we want to kind of like shout out the date and everything to tell people where they can learn more about you guys?
Sure. So yeah, definitely gonna find us on ETHCluj.org, or you know, just look for on Twitter for ETHCluj or LinkedIn Ethereum Cluj. Looking forward to seeing as many of you next week.
26th, 28th of June, ETHCluj. Awesome. Simona, it was such a pleasure talking to you. I hope that we do another update after ETHCluj is done to ruminate on the successes that you guys did. Yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.